June 22nd, 1944. Somewhere in occupied France. Captain John Wascow stood at the edge of a French forest and stared at his radio. The message was clear. Fall back. His battalion was retreating. Every other American unit in the area was pulling out. The Germans were closing in fast. But Wascow had a problem. He'd just gotten word that 220 men from his regiment were still behind enemy lines. Cut off. Surrounded. Running out of ammo. They had maybe 6 hours before the Germans found them. His orders said leave. His gut said go back. Wascow was 28 years old. A school teacher from Texas before the war. He'd been in France for 3 weeks. This wasn't some hardened veteran making a calculated risk. This was a guy who taught algebra deciding whether to march his company straight into a German encirclement. His executive officer pulled him aside. This is suicide. The Germans have the whole area locked down. We can't reach them. Wascow looked at his men. Then he looked at his map. There was one road. One narrow forest path the Germans hadn't covered yet. It'd be gone in an hour. He made the call. We're going back. And here's the thing. This story gets even more insane. If you're enjoying this, smash that subscribe button because we tell stories like this every single week. You won't regret it. What Wascow did in the next 8 hours would save 220 lives, earn him the Medal of Honor, and prove that sometimes the craziest decision is the right one. This is the story of how one captain ignored direct orders and pulled off one of the most daring rescues in WW2. Here's what happened. 2 days earlier, the 36th Infantry Division had pushed deep into German territory during Operation Dragoon. They'd moved fast. Too fast. A regiment of American soldiers got ahead of the main force. They captured a town, dug in, waited for reinforcements. But the Germans counterattacked hard. They cut the Americans off completely, surrounded them on 3 sides. The only escape route was a single dirt road through dense forest. And the Germans were moving to block it. The trapped men radioed for help. Command made a decision. The main force couldn't stop their retreat to save one regiment. It'd risk the entire division. The order went out. Everyone pulled back. The surrounded soldiers were told to break out on their own. Find a way through German lines. Good luck. Except breaking out meant fighting through 2,000 German troops with maybe 300 rounds of ammo per man. It was a death sentence. Wascow heard the order. He also heard the desperation in the radio calls from the trapped men. They weren't asking for a miracle. They were saying goodbye, writing last letters. Some were praying. These were his guys. Men he'd trained with, eaten with, joked back at base. And command was leaving them to die. He called his company together, told them the situation, told them he was going back. Made it clear this was volunteer only. No one had to go. This wasn't their mission anymore. Every single man stepped forward. All 60 of them. They grabbed extra ammo, extra medical supplies, left everything else behind, and started running toward the sound of gunfire. The forest path was narrow. Single file only. German patrols were everywhere. Wascow put scouts ahead. Told them to move silent. No shooting unless absolutely necessary. They had to reach that road before the Germans blocked it. For 2 hours they moved through the trees. Twice they heard German voices within 50 yards. Hold their breath. Keep moving. The whole time, Wascow kept thinking about those 220 men waiting for help that wasn't supposed to come. They reached the road at dusk. It was empty. For now. Wascow could see German positions being set up about a mile ahead. They had maybe 30 minutes before that escape route was gone forever. He split his company in half. Sent 30 men down the road to hold the exit point. Took 30 with him and pushed toward the trapped regiment. The firefight started immediately. The Germans had the regiment pinned in a valley. Wascow's men hit them from behind. Complete surprise. For 10 minutes it was chaos. Machine gun fire. Grenades. Men screaming. Wascow's radio man got hit. His medic got hit. But they broke through. Reached the trapped soldiers. Told them to move. Now. Getting 220 exhausted men through a narrow forest road while under fire is nearly impossible. The Germans figured out what was happening. Started shelling the forest. Wascow organized the retreat in stages. 50 men move. 30 men cover. 50 more moves. 30 more covers. Like a desperate leapfrog towards safety. He stayed at the back. Last man out. Made sure no one got left behind. They lost the road twice. The Germans broke through. Cut them off. Both times Wascow personally led counterattacks to reopen the escape route. He was everywhere. Directing fire. Carrying wounded. Pulling men forward. His uniform was covered in blood. Some hits. Most not. He'd been awake for 30 hours. It didn't matter. He kept moving. The last group reached friendly lines just after midnight. Every single one of those 220 men made it out. Wascow's company had started with 60 men. They came back with 47. 13 killed or wounded. But they'd saved 220 lives. The math was brutal. The choice was clear. Command was furious at first. Wascow had disobeyed direct orders. Risked his entire company. But when they heard the full story, when they saw 220 men who should have been dead or captured, everything changed. Wascow got the Medal of Honor. His men got silver stars. The Germans got a hard lesson about American soldiers who don't leave anyone behind. Years later, historians called it one of the most successful small unit rescues of the war. Military academies studied Wascow's tactics. How he used speed and surprise. How he organized a fighting retreat. How he kept discipline under impossible pressure. But the real lesson wasn't tactical. It was about leadership. About making the hard call when everyone else says it's impossible. Wascow survived the war. Went back to Texas. Taught school for 40 more years. Never talked much about that night. When students asked about his Medal of Honor, he'd say the same thing every time. I just did what anyone would do. Except that wasn't true. Most people would have followed orders. Pulled back. Saved themselves. Wascow went back. Between D-Day and the end of the war, American forces conducted over 300 similar rescue operations in Europe. Some were successful. Some not. But they never stopped trying. Never left men behind if there was any chance. That mindset, that refusal to abandon your own, became part of American military culture. It started with decisions like Wascow's. One captain. One impossible choice. 220 lives saved. Here's your final number. In 8 hours, 60 men traveled 12 miles through enemy territory, fought off multiple German attacks, and evacuated 220 trapped soldiers without losing a single man from the rescued group. 13 casualties to save 220 lives. Sometimes the foolish decision is the only one worth making. Thanks for watching. Next week we're covering the time one American destroyer took on an entire Japanese fleet and somehow won. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. These stories deserve to be remembered. See you next time.